Good Tuesday morning, today, the third week of Lent, okay? And today is interesting. It's a powerful gospel. It's Matthew, okay? And I'll read the part of it. He said, Peter approached Jesus and asked him, Lord, if my brother sins against me, how often must I forgive him? As many as 7 times? That means all the time, okay? You got to know 7 is a magic number, okay? A sacred number. Jesus, I say to you, not 7 times, but 77 times. He's an infinite amount of times. 7 times 7 times 7 times 7, you see? It's not going to mean 77. What about the 78? Not counting numbers. They're symbolic, okay? And he gets the story. The king wants to settle accounts. Some guy comes up, okay, and he said, a debtor was brought to him who owed him a huge amount. And since he had no way of paying it back, his master ordered him to be sold as a slave with his family, all the rest. The servant fell down, did him homage. Be patient with me, I'll pay you back in full. Moved with compassion, the master of that servant let him go and forgave him the loan. Now, when that servant had left, he found one of his fellow servants who owed him a much smaller amount. He seized him, started to choke him, demanding, pay back what you owe. Falling on his knees, his fellow servant begged him, be patient with me, I'll pay you back. But he refused. Instead, he had him over and put him in prison until he paid back the debt. Now, when his fellow servants saw what had happened, they were deeply disturbed and went to their master and reported the whole affair. His master summoned him and said, get over here. No, he didn't say it that way. It sounds like Robert De Niro. You wicked servant, I forgave you your entire debt because you begged me to. Should you not have had pity on your fellow servant as I had pity on you? Then in anger, his master handed him over to the torturers until he should pay back the whole debt. So will my heavenly Father do to you, unless each of you forgives his brother from your heart. See, as you judge, so shall you be judged. As you forgive, so shall you be forgiven. I take that very seriously. And I take that very seriously. The love brings together, makes whole, and that because we are so imperfect in our love for each other, forgiveness has to lie at the very heart and soul of it. How we forgive is how we will be forgiven, not only by God, but by life. If we are compassionate people, we will receive compassion. If you want an eye for an eye, somebody else is going to get yours a tooth for a tooth. As you judge, so shall you be. I really believe that, actually. I put it in a different way. I'd say if you want to be a friend, you can be a friend and you make friends. Surely you can be taken advantage of, but not for long. Be a friend. I tell that to my kids in class. Be a friend. Don't be an enemy. Don't throw your weight around. I have my own street line. The kids like it because I sound like the movies we watch. I grew up in a neighborhood. In a neighborhood, you learn to be a friend. You don't have to like the guy, but you were a friend to them. What you really learned was don't become an enemy. Don't throw your weight around. Like this creep in this story here. He himself was in need of forgiveness. He begs for it, but he wouldn't show it. He gets whacked at the end. You see? He wasn't a friend. He wanted to be a friend to the master, okay, and be befriended by the master. But he himself wasn't a friend. He was a bully. He's a bully. He threw his weight around. I continually go back to in a sense, my young years, my childhood, high school years, because I learned so much about life at that time. The order perfected what I learned in so many ways. And there again, it was be a friend. Don't throw your weight around. You haven't got it. I see it in the universities. But what I learned, my colleague Scott Ragland was the chairman. He asked me once, where'd you get your wisdom? I said, waving on the streets. I don't mean I was a street kid. The neighborhood. The neighborhood. Was it tough? Yeah, it was. Was it people like this in the story? Sure. Who wasn't somebody in need of forgiveness? My God, we had alcoholics. We had all kinds of wife beaters. I'm not saying we were innocent. It wasn't innocent. We would know innocence. It ran it over. So it ran us over. But there were people who were good. More good than bad, trying to make a go of life. And you saw so much how need there was of forgiveness. And I saw that forgiveness. I saw women forgive their husbands. I saw one case, I can't go into it, was so poignant because her husband was an alcoholic. And I think he was a wife. I'm sure he was a wife beater. I'm positive, actually. And yet she forgave him He cleaned his life up. She forgave him. And she spoke tenderly of her husband. I mean that too. That's forgiveness. It's not that she was coward. She did not. She was strong. Some of the women I know, the strongest women, some of the strongest people I've known, women that I've known, suffered from alcoholic and abusive relationships, but they stood up. They weren't cowards. They weren't destroyed by it. And in the end, they redeemed their spouses. In many ways, they redeemed their spouses by their courage, by their steadfastness, by their fidelity, by their forgiveness. They saw the good amidst the horror. They saw beauty where I and anyone else would have seen ugliness. That's the truth. Now, forgiveness is an essential virtue in the human heart. It makes whole the broken. It recognizes the broken. You don't forgive innocence, you forgive guilt when there's true guilt. And where the forgiveness is not ignoring the evil, is seeking to heal the evil heart. I don't say that right. It's not looking the other way. It's looking right at it and seeing the good and seeking to nurture the good and reduce the evil. Forgiveness is not blindness at all. It's not make-believe. In fact, it's the harshest form of reality because you're calling a spade, but you're also recognizing the beauty of the other person. If they can't even see their own beauty, you can at least see it. You see the good in them. You seek to foster the good, and that's where the forgiveness comes in. It's not looking the other way. It's looking right at them. It's not making believe this other person is innocent when they're not innocent. They are precisely guilty, but that's why they're to be forgiven. Yeah, I don't know how to say that right. Where the forgiveness is an energy of wholeness. It makes whole the broken parts. It's not an excuse. That's the word I couldn't come up with. It's not an excuse. It's an absolute pure reality itself. But it's a reality that sees evil in the context of a good and seeks the good. It seeks to heal a wound that is real. Right? It's not make-believe. It's the antithesis of make-believe. It's realism with a vengeance, but a realism of what is truly good and beautiful, seeking to tease that out of the horror, recognizing the horror, recognizing the evil, and seeking through a forgiveness that is wise and good to tease out the good and to minimize and eliminate the evil. Forgiveness is not making excuses. It's healing. It's recognizing the evil and seeking to overcome it by the good and the good that exists in that person, bringing out the good that is there. I think of that woman on the street, with all that she put up with all those years and never, in the end, said nothing harsh about her husband. She saw the good in him. She saw the good. She was a woman of forgiveness. She was a great human being, a marvelous human being.